At Kaboom Fireworks, we love family, freedom, and fireworks. On top of our rock bottom prices, we have Black Cat, Brothers, Sky Bacon, Fox, Takeo, and others, with everything from sparklers, parachutes, and snakes to fountains and cakes. Did we mention finales? Up to 1,000 grams. There's something for everyone at Kaboom Fireworks, with the best selection at the most affordable prices, where we cherish family, freedom, and fireworks. Open daily through July 4th, located downtown Wachir. The Delta Fireman's Ball is Saturday, July 27th. You can enjoy food, live music, games, and more. There will be a poker run from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Keith Davis will be playing music from 6 to 9 p.m. For more information on the Delta Fireman's Ball, contact Jim or Fake Harry at 319-212-8772. The Delta Fireman's Ball is coming up Saturday, July 27th. Don't miss it. The Keokuk County Expo in Sigourney, Iowa is the place to be this 4th of July, as they'll be hosting their annual 4th of July Truck and Tractor Pull, starting at 6:30 p.m. in conjunction with ECI Pullers Association and Twin States Pulling Association, powered by Champion Seed. And as always, there will be fireworks at dark. Spend your 4th of July evening in Sigourney, Iowa at the Keokuk County Expo with the Truck and Tractor Pull at 6:30. Hope to see you there.
Hey everyone, Coach Iva back again with the Brain Rewired, and I want to talk to you tonight about synaptic pruning. Now, you may be thinking, why do I need to know about synaptic pruning? How does this apply to me? Well, I'm going to encourage you to watch all the way to the end of this short video, because I'm going to give you some really practical, simple little tools to help you overcome negative thinking. So, synaptic pruning is really the scientific term for the process that happens in your brain when you rewire your neural pathways. So that pruning is really what's happening in your brain when the old thought pattern begins to fall away. Because your brain loves patterns, it stores patterns into subconscious memory. But if you're no longer thinking those thoughts or believing those thoughts anymore, you're not using that pathway anymore, that neural pathway will eventually begin to break away, and that's what we call synaptic pruning. And so because we know that our brain has such a strong negative bias, and all of us, none of us are immune to it, over time we can pick up on some negative thinking about ourselves, about our situation, about other people. And so we want to begin to get aware of, like, what are those negative thoughts that we're thinking or believing, and paying attention to them, and no longer, be using them, because then what will happen is that actual thought pattern, that neural pathway, will begin to fall away, which is amazing. And we get to form new pathways. So I'm going to give you what I call my battle plan, because we know that so much of our thinking influences what we see on a daily basis in our lives. And really the battle happens in our thinking. And so there's some really practical little tools I'm going to give you in this video on how to overcome negative thinking. So the very first step is getting an awareness of what is that thought that you're thinking that's holding you back. What is that negative belief pattern that you've been holding on to? And once you know what that is, you get to capture that thought, okay? So that's the first step in your battle plan. So let's say, for example, your negative thought, your negative belief about yourself is that I'm not good enough. This is one that's pretty common that I come across pretty frequently. I'm not good enough. So when you find yourself thinking that thought, I'm not good enough, then you get to pause, you get to grab that thought and say, okay, there it is. And you get to pull it out, pull it into the light, and you get just to simply get curious. There's no shame in the fact that we think negative thoughts, because we know that all of us as humans, we have this tendency to think negative thoughts or belief patterns about ourselves. And yet we don't have to stay stuck there. Like, we can do something about it. So the very first step is to have that awareness when it shows up, and then begin to, pull it out, pull it into the light, and say, okay, there's that thought. The second step in this battle plan is, I want you, let's say your thought is, I'm not good enough. You're going to go back into your past and think about all the times that you've been good enough. And you're going to describe that in detail. So what you want to do is get really clear and specific about those times where you felt like you were good enough in your life. You may even have to define what is good enough for you, because sometimes we kind of get a little caught up in what we think other people's expectations are of us. So maybe your idea of good enough maybe really isn't, what you thought it was. You're like, oh, I thought it was this thing, but it's actually this. So getting really clear on the definition of what does it mean to be good enough in my life. And then looking through that lens, you get to look back at your past and say, okay, when are the times that I can identify that I was actually good enough? And you get to write those out. Get really clear on the details. And once you have that list, you're going to keep that list handy, because that's a very important part of your battle plan. When that thought comes up for you again in the future, because it will, because it's a very familiar pattern for your brain will continue to serve you up subconsciously. I'm not good enough. You get to pull out that list and say, brain, this is where it's not true. And you get to show your logical thinking part of your brain, that prefrontal cortex, where it's not true. And we know through scientific research that it takes about 21 days for an old neural pathway to fall away. So that synaptic pruning, it takes about 21 days of not using that pathway, not thinking that thought, right? And over time, it'll fall away. And it takes about 67 repetitions, so about 67 days to form a new neural pathway. And this is just give or take. Everybody is different. Some people it takes longer, some people it takes less. But that's just kind of a general guideline. The reason why I share this is because it takes over and over showing your brain where it's not true in order to form that new neural pathway. So I don't want you to give up after the first few attempts. I want you to keep going until you begin to see that shift in your life where you know that that thought is no longer running an automation. I'm not good enough, but instead what's running on automation is that I'm good enough. And I guarantee you, you will begin to see a really positive change in your life. Now, if you would love some support and going deeper on this topic of uncovering what is running on automation in your subconscious memory, I'm going to encourage you to click on the link in the comment section and schedule a free call with me, and we'll go deeper on this topic and how I can support you so that you can live the vision life that you desire. All right, thank you for joining me. We'll talk again soon. Bye for now.